Well, the latest player signing is coming pretty late in the offseason for the Cincinnati Cyclones, but it is head coach and director of hockey operations Jason Payne. And, his job is to add players. Malcolm Hayes, the latest player, a defenseman signing with the Clones. Hey, Malcolm, we're going to talk about a few things here. But first off, man, feelings, I guess the initial thought, you've called when it comes to the ECHL, your hometown Atlanta Gladiators have been your team, and now you're going to switch logos, switch cities. You're coming to another major market, which I think has to be nice. But give me kind of those first initial thoughts about being there and saying, all right, I'm Malcolm Hayes and I'm a defenseman for the Cincinnati Cyclones.
Yeah, it's an exciting opportunity. When Coach Payne called me the other day and told me, he had a spot open for me, I didn't even hesitate. Told him I just had to get a few things in order. I gave him a call back in a day or so. Called him back in like 30 minutes, and I was like, all right, let's go. But it's definitely exciting, like you said, being from Atlanta, leaving the hometown, but just going to a new opportunity and gonna see what I can do.
Well, I think the other thing that's exciting, man, is you've been around the pro game for a couple of years, and I want to talk with you about that in a little bit here. But first and foremost, I think we'll call you a free agent. When you are fielding calls and you're looking, okay, where am I going to sign next? Who am I going to play for? There has to be a desire, if able, to play with a team that has a winning culture, to play for a hockey team that you think not only can you get that individual success, but the team success. And by the way, I think a lot of guys would say they go hand in hand. So stats don't lie, man. This team, Central Division champions last year. Cyclones are pretty much, it feels like always a lock to be a playoff team. I know the standard going into this season is they were not content with just making it to the second round of the Kelly Cup playoffs. Coach Payne wants the Clones to find their way back to a championship. So how much does that add to the excitement for you to come to an organization that has a standard right off the get-go of winning hockey games?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an exciting feeling just to know that, you're coming into a place that expects you to win. And that just adds that much more of a chip on my shoulder when I show up to camp day one. Like, hey, like I know I'm one of the new guys here, but I want to win just as bad as the next guy who's been there for 5 years. So it's a good feeling to join a team that is not only in the hunt for winning a cup, that's the expectation, and anything else is considered a failure almost. So it definitely does add a little bit of an extra chip on your shoulder, knowing that a team expects to win night in and night out. But I mean, that's what you want to play for. You don't want to play for a team where it's like, we'll kind of give them a pass if they lose tonight. Like that's not who I am. I expect to win, and I want to win at all costs. So I'm excited to join an environment like that.
I know Payner feels the same way. And hey, let me ask you about that. So last 2 years, you spent the bulk of the seasons in each of the last two with Atlanta. Now, there was some SPHL play in there, which we'll get to in a moment. But, the last two seasons, the Cyclones did run into the Atlanta Gladiators a couple times during the regular season. Was it in the ECHL as a member of Atlanta that you met Payner, or is there a prior relationship that leads to the signing?
Yeah, so I first I heard about him getting the job with Cincy the first year that he got it, and then we crossed paths 2 years ago when Atlanta played. We came to Cincy to play, and after the game, I just found him because I wanted to just shake his hand and let him know, because obviously that's a big thing for the culture and just moving the game of hockey along. You don't see too many Black coaches, so when you run into somebody like that, I want to go out of my way and make sure I get a chance to just meet him and talk to him. So that was my first time talking to him, and that's how we connected.
Have you ever been in a spot where you've been coached by someone of color?
2 times, and
Okay.
both of those teams were championship teams, fortunately. So yeah, I'm excited. The first time was when I left home my 8th grade year to go billet up in Detroit. We played for a team called Bell Tire. We ended up being state champions that year. And that was a pretty cool experience. And then there was a youth hockey tournament way back in the day that I played with. We were called Skills Black Mafia, and we ended up running through the tournament, and then we lost to, I can't remember who we lost to, maybe like the Toronto Marlies in the finals. But that team had a pretty stacked roster with some NHL guys who are still playing to this day. So I'll tip my hat to that and take that L any day.
Hey, man. Yeah, you can't complain about that. Also, I don't think fans are going to complain if you're telling us that the last 2 times this scenario has happened, teams made it to a championship. Let's hope that, third time's the charm and you can win it here in Cincy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the goal from day one. So, I mean, that's what we're working toward. And like I said earlier, anything else is almost considered a failure.
It's interesting because we were all here for when that happened, when Jason Payne was named head coach of the team, and it felt like this celebrity effect almost took over him in the sense of everybody wanted to talk to him. And I think for folks that, maybe don't have the same upbringing, it was almost a reality check to realize how important this is, but also how unfortunately uncommon it is. To see something like this, even yourself saying, hey, I want to make sure that I get to shake this guy's hand. And, I want to meet him. I want to know what it's like to meet a head coach of color in the professional game. How important is that for someone like yourself? Because, there's obviously coaches of color, and now Joel Martin with the Kalamazoo Wings. Since Payner got this role, he also being a head coach of color and in the same division, but also players. The game continuing to grow. And this really is, and I think you'll agree, at the grassroots level. It's harder to find a 15-year-old kid who's never skated versus getting a kid in skates right when he's young, like you. And like, I know Jason talks about when his mom signed him up for it when he was a young buck, which, by the way, we're recording this on the day of his 48th birthday. So a lot of years since then, but how important is it for you as a player to just see the diversity of this game continue to grow?
No, it's definitely huge because it gives kids who look like me that motivation where it's like, hey, he looks exactly like me and he did it, so that means I can do it too. So that's like the biggest thing. And then, like you mentioned, it just helps grow the game. It just helps with in all sorts of the aspects of growing the game, because now you have an eye-opening experience, and it just goes back to people saying, if he's able to do it, then why can't I do it? And that goes a long way when you see somebody who looks like you doing it. Because when I was growing up, I hardly ever saw anybody that looked like me in a rink. I was always the only one, unless my dad or mom was in the stands, and they were always easy to spot. So if they weren't around, it was just me. So, to be able to see him in this position, it is like that celebrity effect, because you don't see it happen often. So when you do, you got to acknowledge it and just be thankful for how much the game is growing, and just also realize that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
One of the things that Jason's talked about throughout his career, he played for over 20 professional teams, and he said that it can be a humbling experience. And I feel like you can probably relate to that in some ways, not just being with Atlanta. You had a brief stint with Kansas City in the ECHL, but also having played for Macon, for Fayetteville. We're talking some SPHL teams, and I've been down that road. And for fans and people that haven't, it's not the easiest, man. And again, you're living proof of that. That's a tough league to be in. So kind of take me through being a 28-year-old and a guy who's now kind of gone along the pro journey. How different has it been than when you were in, your youth playing days or playing, college up in Maine?
Yeah, it's definitely been an uphill battle. I've battled a lot. I've battled injuries. I've battled call-ups. Battled COVID. The year that I played with Birmingham during the COVID year. I was training all year long, just, hoping I would get a call from one of like whatever it was, like 12 or 10 teams that were playing. So unfortunately, the call never came, but I went down to Birmingham and just played. But, it's a humbling experience, man. You feel like you're supposed to be someplace, and a lot of times you don't end up where you want to be. But, you're never not going to be in the place that you're supposed to be. So that's what I've kind of learned from this whole experience. And every day I just show up, ready to work, and just all I ever asked for was an opportunity. You give me an opportunity. If I don't make the most of it, then I can look back and say, hey, that was on me, because the opportunity was given and I didn't take advantage of it. So, I do keep that humble attitude of, just show up ready to work every day. But at the end of the day, I do feel like I belong on the East Coast Hockey League roster. And, with an opportunity, who knows where that'll take me. So, I keep that mindset every day, because, you got to be your number one supporter at the end of the day. So if you're doubting yourself, then it's not going to go very well for you, especially in the pro game, because it can be very lonely sometimes. So you got to keep that mindset of, hey, you belong, but you also need to know that you need to put that work in to show that you belong day in and day out.
Well, you talk about an opportunity, and Coach Payne is giving you that opportunity. But now let's on a lighter note, take an opportunity to tell the fans, that haven't seen your game before. You're a defenseman. You got some size to you. Some penalty minutes. You're not necessarily one of those guys that's going out there and making every game a gong show. I don't see 400 penalty minutes in 40 games, which hard to believe. You would think that part's left the game. There's still some cats rolling out there doing that. But What kind of game does Malcolm Hayes either bring or look to bring here to Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, hats off to those guys who are still able to, rack up those penalty minutes night in and night out. That's a different beast. But I mean, I play a similar role to that, but I also come from a lot of skill hockey back in my day. Like played hockey East, played at the University of Alaska. So, I know how to play the game, and what I bring to the team is a certain level of energy that I don't really plan on other people matching. But I don't take anything either. So I'm looking to play and have fun and bring some skill night in and night out. But, if you touch me or one of my teammates or my goalie, like it can definitely get ugly pretty quickly. And I have no problem engaging in any of that when it comes to standing up for me and my teammates and sending a message that we're not going to tolerate any disrespect. So you can definitely expect to see some of that at some point of the year. Being in the Central Division, it does get chippy.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, that just makes the game that much more fun. So, you can expect a little bit of everything from me.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one, man. And you're not wrong about this division. My goodness, especially with the way we're looking at some of the rosters. And, there's some former Cyclones out there. A guy like Brandon Yeaman's now on Kalamazoo, and he definitely loves to mix it up like that. Fans can't wait to see it, especially you being now potentially in the mix of it. Getting away from hockey, Malcolm, we want to let you go because we really don't have a lot of time left. I mean, you got to enjoy what you can. You probably have some bags packed behind you, and, you got to get ready to get off to Cincinnati soon, man. But take me off the ice. It's funny. I didn't tell you beforehand, but I see the hat. You're a very proud resident of Hotlanta, and I think to myself, man, I would not be able to go to a baseball game with you because our teams do not get along growing up a big Phillies fan.
Okay.
Just got done watching that series. Thankfully, they took 2 or 3 from Atlanta after they
Yeah.
beat us 3 out of 4 the week prior. But that's going to be a fun baseball team to watch. Are you doing that? Are you catching what the Falcons are doing? I think they just beat Green Bay when we a couple days ago.
Yeah.
What's
So
going on in your sports world away from hockey?
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely, there's some people out there who are gonna hear me say I'm an Atlanta fan and then be like, roll their eyes, and no, he's not, because I tend to be a bandwagoner sometimes, but like Atlanta baseball, I don't really keep up with them, but
Right.
if they're in the playoffs, I'm gonna ride with them because that's the hometown team. So, but the Falcons, I want to be a Falcons fan, but ever since that Super Bowl loss, it's like you guys make it hard on me because I want to ride with you guys, but you just every chance you get, you want to disappoint me. But it's like the hometown team, so if they're gonna do well this year, I'll show my support.
All right.
But if they don't want to do well, I'm gonna probably just keep my Julio Jones jersey tucked away. So I pick and choose, man. But it's the nature of the business.
All right. Side question now, since you brought it up. So you're a little bit of a bandwagoner. Were you
Just a
on the
little bit.
All right. Well, were you on the Falcons bandwagon? Like, were you watching that game live 28-3, or were you just kind of like keeping an eye on it? Because if you're watching that game live, man, I don't know what it's like to be an Atlanta fan and see that.
So let me tell you this. I remember this game vividly because I was watching it in Maine. And we were out, like our whole team, and mind you, our whole team is full of New England kids.
Yep.
So it was me against basically the bar, or like all our teammates. And as soon as we get up, I mean, I couldn't shut my mouth. I was just running it and running. I'm like 28-3. We are walking home. Like we might put in the backups for the fourth quarter. And after Wes Welker catches that pass off the safety's foot, I called an Uber home. I was like, I got to get out of here. I see where this is going. I was like, Brady's got the ball back. He's got momentum. I know how this story ends. I was like, I got to get out of here. So that was a tough loss to live down because of how much I was running my mouth. But I was like, that just comes with being a bandwagon. Sometimes you got to eat your words. So
Yeah,
it
man.
is what it is.
That sounds like the most timely Uber ride of all time.
Oh yeah, I was like, man, you could have not picked me up at a better time, my man. Let's get home.
Let's get out of here. And I'm gonna just kind of roll down and sort of sink into the chair so people don't see me.
Oh yeah, I had to sneak out of there, duck in my head.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, listen, I hope for your sake, I hope you find, well, minus the baseball side, the Falcons can have a little bit of success. I really don't need the Braves to have any more against Philadelphia. But look, man, we're excited. This is great chatting with you. I can tell you got a bright personality, which fans are going to love to see, both, I think, on the mic and especially on the ice. And the Cyclones are going to be at it here We're announcing this right around the end of September. And here we go. October 21st, first face-off. Wheeling Nailers are in town. Fans can get their tickets for this 7:30 game on Saturday, the 21st of October by visiting cycloneshockey.com. Malcolm Hayes, again, our latest signing. You might be the last signing that we announced this offseason, man. It's getting late quick, but happy that we have you on here and look forward to seeing you in town.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Andrew. I'm excited to be here.